More security earmarked for 4 South states in Saturday's governorship elections. West African Examination Council releases January-February results. In international news, prominent French jihadists killed in ISIS-held area in Syria. In the sport, the Ghanaian government works to increase popularity of the sport of boxing.
This is ANN News.
I am Olajumoke Olatibi. Governorship and state assembly elections come up on Saturday and preparations are in full swing across the country to ensure safe, free, fair and credible elections. In a move to ensure safety and peaceful conduct of the elections in some parts of the South that are prone to election violence, President Muhammadu Buhari has directed service chiefs and heads of security agencies to deploy more security agents to Bayelsa, Rivers Delta and the Akwa Ibom State. In last week's Presidential and National Assembly polls, several persons lost their lives in violence in 4 South states. Acting Inspector General of Police Muhammad Adamu told journalists in Abuja security agencies were ready to enforce order during the election. He also called, or rather said, security personnel would deal ruthlessly with any troublemaker at the polls. He encouraged voters to go out and exercise their civic options. Security has been beefed up. Abia State chapter of the Social Democratic Party is at odds with chairman of the party in the 17 local government areas of the state. Those local government officials are said to have adopted the PDP governorship candidate and incumbent governor Okezie Ikpeazu as the SDP's sole candidate for Saturday's governorship election in the state. Spokesman for the local government chairman, Chikioji Ozems, told journalists in Wire their adoption was based on the need to have peace in the state. He said the only way that can be achieved is to allow Ikpeazu to complete a second term as governor. But Abia State's SDP chairman Chidi Nwosu reaffirmed Blessing Nwagba as the party's governorship candidate. He said the party would not bow down to PDP's whims and caprices in aligning for the forthcoming election. The Federal High Court in Abuja has ordered the President Muhammadu Buhari and PDP presidential candidate and former Vice President Atiku Abubakar to served with court process in a lawsuit that seeks to disqualify the candidacies in the last presidential election that swept Buhari into his second term. The plaintiff Usman Ibrahim Alhaji, who was presidential candidate of the National Rescue Movement during the election, wants the Federal High Court to invoke Section 91, subsection 2 of the 2010 Electoral Act to nullify the participation of the two candidates. He said their participation was unlawful because they spent more than 1 billion naira each as campaign expenses. Alhaji told the judge it was difficult to serve the process of either candidate because of the heavy security around them. He moved the next party motion of substituted service through the legal department of the defendant's respective political parties. The judge approved the ex parte motion and adjourned the case till later this month. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has released Barrister Tanimo Turaki, Deputy Director General of Administration in the Atiku campaign organization. He was seized on Monday. PDP spokesman Kola Olobodinyo charged in a statement that Turaki's arrest and detention were a part of what he called a grand plot by the Buhari presidency and APC to use state apparatus of power to intimidate PDP leaders. The presidency and APC officials have not responded to that charge. To cross River State, where the chapter of the All Progressives Congress APC is asking President Muhammadu Buhari and the party's national leader Bola Tinubu to fast-track their action to end the crisis within the state arm of the party before it's degenerated to what it calls epic proportions. The state chapter is calling for the cancellation of what it says it is an illegal congress in the party. In two separate letters to party national chairman Adam Soshomole, chairman of Ecom Local Government and Area Council Caucus, Barrister Ode Oyama, wants the party's National Working Committee and the Board of Trustees to cancel what was called a legal state congress held by Deputy National Chairman Engineer Shagwuni in late February last year. They claimed that Congress has disenfranchised nearly 1,000 delegates and has aggravated the party's crisis in the state. Human rights lawyer Falana says PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar should not be blackmailed in his quest to go to court over the results of the presidential candidate. But he said Atiku will face what he calls insurmountable legal obstacles at the Presidential Elections Tribunal. He said Atiku should go ahead with his lawsuit. He pointed to Buhari's challenge of election results in 2003, 2007 and 2011 when he lost presidential elections. Falana said there is an insurmountable legal obstacles for election petitioner because of the failure of previous administrations to reform the electoral process. He said Abubakar faces serious legal challenges because of some requirements of the law, including one that says an election cannot be questioned on grounds of corrupt practices. His side said several previous cases to bolster his stand. In other news, Dele Belgore, a senior advocate of Nigeria, has told the Federal High Court in Lagos on Tuesday he did not know that the 450 million naira given to him in 2015 was from former Minister of Petroleum Resources, Jason Allison Madueke. He said he thought it was from the People's Democratic Party campaign headquarters in Abuja. He said this at the resumption of his EFCC trial for money laundering. He told the court that his campaign coordinator in Kwara State for the 2015 election, he was operating on information that money would be sent from the campaign headquarters in Abuja to the PDP in Kwara. He said he had no information the money was paid in Allison Madueke's instruction. The case has been adjourned to later this month and early April. Results of WAEC January-February West African Senior Secondary Certificate Examination has been released. WAEC's head of Nigeria National Office, Olu Adenipekun, announced that more than 39,000 candidates obtained credit and above in a minimum of 5 subjects, including English language and mathematics.
The conduct of the West African Senior School Certificate Examinations WASC for Private Candidate 2019 4 series ended on Monday, February 4, 2019. 12,202 candidates registered for the examinations. A total of 3,102 candidates, representing 26.08%, obtained credit and above in a minimum of 5 subjects, including English language and general mathematics.
West African Examinations Council is an examination body that conducts the West African Senior School Certificate Examination for university and JAMB entry examination in West African countries. The council also helps other examination bodies, both local and international, in coordinating examinations. Coming up, African Stories. Abidjan hosts Women's Forum ahead of International Women's Day. And later, international news. Prominent French jihadis killed in Syria.
You are watching ANN.
This used to be me. But that was before I got the perfect bag. It's handy and easy to use. All I need in one compact space, just like my MTN Extra Value plan. I used to get one plan for my calls and then try to remember which data plan worked for me. Roaming was a totally different ballgame. Not anymore. I've got the MTN Extra Value all-in-one plan. If you're a data buff like me, you get extra data with some talk time. And if you like to make calls, you get extra talk time with some data. And when I'm abroad, I automatically browse, chat, and call right on the same plan. MTN Extra Value was made just for me.
More of data or calls, whichever one you prefer. MTN Extra Value is made just for you.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. Now to African Stories. The United Nations says an unprecedented humanitarian crisis is unfolding in Burkina Faso, where more than 100,000 persons have fled their homes. It says most of them were displaced in the first 2 months of this year, and more than 500,000 are at risk of food insecurity. Much of the violence occurs in the north of the country, but there have always been ethnic clashes in central regions. Minister in charge of humanitarian action, Helene Mary Lawrence Debodo, has asked all technical and financial partners, the private sector and the civil society for support in implementing the emergency relief plan. The United States and European Union have expressed their support for the continuous protests in Algeria. Tens of thousands of demonstrators have taken to the streets in Algiers, demanding that 82-year-old President Abdelaziz Bouteflika step down. The president is reported to be very ill, but plans to seek a fifth term next month. A U.S. State Department spokesman, Robert Palladino, says the Algerian people had the right to peaceful assembly. Algerian Army Chief General Ahmed Gaid Salah has warned that the military will not allow breakdown of security. UN Commission on Human Rights in South Sudan has said in a report transnational oil production companies controlled by Asian interests have been complicit in South Sudan military offenses that have involved killings of civilians. The Commission says lack of corporate accountability for transnational companies have caused some of them to be complicit in these crimes. Several of the companies were conducting profitable businesses in oil-producing areas at times when mass human rights violations were perpetrated against the local population. The Commission points to a U.S. Commerce Department finding last year that the transnational companies, along with South Sudan's government-run oil firm, have acted as enablers for the country's bloody conflicts. The 6th Women Employment and Entrepreneurship Forum has kicked off in Abidjan, Ivory Coast capital. As a prelude to the International Women's Day on Friday, this event focuses on female empowerment and leadership. It was attended by female leaders in the fields of health, media, culture, and business. It was also an opportunity for Ivorian women entrepreneurs to encourage younger generations of women to defend their rights. Founder of the Julius Center in Ivory Coast, Jitenda Stilio, lamented that education does not have its rightful place in society. She said no society can develop without an adequate education system. A young student, Nima Dibate, said women should not focus on what people say to minimize them as women, but that they should close their eyes to all of that and focus on what is important. A survey has shown that women's entrepreneurship has boosted the status of women in several African countries in recent years, and many of them hope that the upcoming International Women's Day will be another opportunity to further claim their rights. It was a festive mood when the Catholic Church leaders and believers received the new auxiliary bishop of the Archdiocese of Maputo in Mozambique. The mass was crowded and believers sang, danced and gave offerings to the bishop recently appointed by the leader of the Catholic Church, Pope Francis. During the mass, Archbishop Francisco Chimoy of Maputo called attention to fake Christian teachers who seek to overcome Jesus. He warned believers to be discerning. The new Bishop Antonio Sandramo said he did not expect the appointment. He guaranteed to continue working for the church. Pope Francis is expected to visit Mozambique this year, and the date of his visit has not been fixed, but it is expected to take place in September. When we return, international news. Prominent French jihadists killed in Syria, and later sport. Ghana works to popularize boxing.
You are watching ANN.
Are you sure you want to do this?
Adam, go and bring us your husband. Okay, hello baby.
We're in this together, okay? Can you hear me? Keep coming forward.
Wait, stop.
You okay, lean to your right. Keep walking down. Keep walking to the left. Yes.
You're almost here.
Keep going.
You are here. Wow, you did it.
I'm just so glad I didn't have to use my cane to do this.
And I am so glad no other man got you before me. Let me be your eyes.
We will never stop working to give you a network you can rely on so you can enjoy life's special moments. MTN, everywhere you go.
Welcome back. This is CNN News. In global news, prominent French jihadi Jean-Michel Klein has reportedly been killed after fleeing the last Islamic State group hideout in eastern Syria. He was wounded in a coalition drone strike and was unable to recover from his wounds. A similar strike had earlier killed his brother, Fabian, who was France's most wanted jihadi. Fully veiled in black and surrounded by her 5 children, including a 2-week-old baby, Klein's wife, Dorothea Macquarie, said at a screening area run by the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces. The drone killed her brother-in-law, and then the mortar killed her husband. The Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces are spearheading the battle against the last strand of IS territory. Macquarie and her children were among the last civilians to leave Banguz, a farming village in the banks of the Euphrates where die-hard IS members are making a bloody last stand. Tens of thousands of workers in Mexico's northeastern port city of Matamoros have walked off their jobs to demand better pay and better working conditions. Workers at Arca Continental, a Coca-Cola distributor in northern Mexico, are demanding an annual bonus increase and a 20% pay rise. They say they have been exploited in recent years in working hours and an unfair share of the distribution company's massive expansion in recent years. Workers from 30 local companies from Coca-Cola to automobile assembly plants have been on strike for the past 3 weeks. The workers are emboldened by Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador's promise to double the minimum wage in communities along the U.S. border. Workers who are making more than a minimum wage in Matamoros factories would not have benefited from that policy, which has sparked discontent among those workers who argue that their salaries should also get a big boost. An Afghan official says the death toll in a militant attack on a construction company in eastern Afghanistan has risen to 16. A spokesman for the governor of Mandara province, Atalo Kogiani, said 3 militants stormed a construction company near the main airport in the provincial capital, Jalalabad. After 2 suicide bombers blew themselves up there on Wednesday, Kogiani said all the attackers were killed and the situation has been brought under control. There was no immediate claim of responsibility for the attack, but both the Taliban and the Islamic State group are active in eastern Afghanistan, especially in Nangarhar province. Jalalabad is the capital of the northeastern Nangarhar province. The 13th National People's Congress, the highest organ of state power, opened its second session Tuesday morning at the Great Hall of the People in Beijing. Chinese President Xi Jinping, also General Secretary of the Communist Party of China, Central Committee and Chairman of the Central Military Commission, and other Chinese leaders were among the nearly 3,000 NPC deputies present at the opening. Premier Li Keqiang delivered a report on the work of the government at the opening, chaired by Li Zhangqiu, Chairman of the 13th NPC Standing Committee.
是全面贯彻党的19大精神，开局之年，是本届政府依法履职第1年。我国发展面临多年少有的国内外复杂严峻形势，经济出现新的下行压力。在以习近平同志为核心的党中央坚强领导下，
The National People's Congress, the top legislature, is the highest institution through which the Chinese people exercise their state power. All administrative, judicial, procuratorial, and military organs and other state-level institutions are accountable to the NPC and are supervised by it. Satellite images show a religious school run by Jaish-e-Mohammed in northeastern Pakistan still appears to be standing days after India claimed warplanes destroyed it and killed a large number of fighters. The images produced by Planet Labs, a San Francisco-based private satellite operator, show at least 6 buildings on the school sites on March the 4th, which was 6 days after the air raids. Until now, no high-resolution satellite images were publicly available. The images are virtually unchanged from an April 2018 satellite photo of the facility. There are no discernible holes in the roof of buildings, no signs of scorching, blown out walls, displaced trees around the school, or other signs of an aerial attack. India's Foreign and Defense Ministries did not reply to Reuters news agency's questions about the satellite images. Still ahead, sport. Ghana wants to recover boxing glory. Stay with us.
You are watching ANN.
Looking for some Disney magic but don't know where to find it? We've got a magical solution just for you. Simply go to disneynigeria.mobi and get an exciting selection of games, short videos, wallpapers, shareables, and more. Explore a whole new world of Disney on your mobile, tablet, or PC. For just 200 Naira monthly, you get to enjoy the fun to infinity and beyond. SMS Disney to 11006 to begin. Terms and conditions apply. This service is only available to MTN customers.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. In sport, the Ghanaian government is working to increase the popularity of boxing, a sport in which the country had once produced world title holders. The sport has been in decline in the country in the last few years. It has been 7 years since Ghana won a bronze medal in Olympic boxing, and it wants that to change. Here's an in-depth look.
For Mauli Foley, it's been 6 years of jabs and hooks. With a couple of amateur wins under his belt, he now wants to punch his way to the top.
Now I feel I have enough strength to compete in professional boxing. My coach is training me well, so I believe I can fight.
He's training in a gym here in Bukom. The town in central part of Accra has produced most of the country's boxing talent, including former IBF World Waterweight Champion Joshua Clottey, who held the title from 2008 to 2009. Boxing is a way of life here, and children are not left out.
Boxing has helped many of the young people here to keep away from the streets and bad influences. And as they train every day, they hope to become world champions in future.
This coach has big ambitions for his boys.
I'll be happy to have more world champions, more boxing world champions. That is the first dream. And the second dream, to get them a job to do in future.
3 out of Ghana's 4 Olympic medals have come from boxing. This 4,000 capacity boxing arena, built in 2016, was a government project to revive the golden years of Ghanaians winning world titles after many years without one. It's been 47 years since the country won a bronze medal at the men's middleweight boxing at the Olympics.
Roy Ankra and Cloutier Robertson.
Efforts are being made to boost the popularity of boxing in Ghana.
We've been upgrading the skills of our trainers or the coaches from time to time. Last year we had a series of boxing training. This year we'll be having referees and judges courses.
But not everyone here thinks enough is being done.
We need to develop the sport. You can develop it, you can sustain and maintain the sanctity of the sport through infrastructure development. You need to have managers, you need to have trainers who understand the rudiment of the game.
Boxers like Mauli believe they have to sweat it out in spite of the challenges to reach their title-winning dreams. For them, all they know now is to roll with the punches while they keep their eyes on the prize.
That is ANN News this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on this and other stories, visit our website, annafrica.net. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Have a pleasant evening.